Let's explore the topic of generosity for a few moments. And we're taking this from Swami Kriyananda's book, Affirmations for Self-Healing. And let us listen first of what Swamiji says about generosity. Most people think of generosity as merely the giving of material benefits to others. More important, however, and much more satisfying, is a generous spirit, a willingness to let the other person shine, even if it means being eclipsed oneself, a happiness in his good fortune, even if it means personal loss for oneself, a concern for his safety, even if in an accident one's own property has been destroyed. Generosity means, above all, recognizing that everything we have and are belongs to God alone, and is his to dispose of where he will. Now, Swamiji's last point there is perhaps the most difficult, at the same time, the deepest point here, the most important. And it's a deep sense of introspection. And it behooves us to take that introspection ourselves. Now, the whole topic of generosity is a very topical one, that some of us have less income than we're used to, or we have financial uncertainties, and we may be asking ourselves, well, now just how generous can I afford to be? And Swamiji here, in saying everything that we are belongs to God alone, ask ourselves, what are we? And we might sort of make a list of, well, you know, I'm this person, I have these talents, these skills, I've accomplished these things, you know, I'm proud of these things. And with each one of these things, with each one of these gifts that we have, let's introspect and say, no, this gift came from God. If he wants to take it away from me, that is his prerogative. And he can dispose out of it as he wills. Likewise, the things that come to us, the things that we have, our spouse, our children, our family members, our home, our job, my income, all of these things that we have because they have come to us from God. And it's a wonderful mental exercise to think to ourselves, these are already God's. They belong to him, not to me. They're just on loan, so to speak. Yogananda Ji tells the story of he went to visit the Radio City Music Hall in New York, a beautiful building. And he bought a ticket that he could take a self-tour with that ticket. And he said to himself, okay, I have this ticket, and for these 2 hours that I'm here, I own this place. It's all mine. Let me enjoy it completely. And then at the end of that time, he left. He gave his ticket back. And he said, now God, you take it away. I've enjoyed it completely. I've enjoyed it fully in that time. And this is the attitude that we should take to our lives, to the things that we are given, that we are lent by God, to enjoy them fully in the time that we have them, and then not to hesitate for a moment to give them back to Him at whatever moment He asks to take them back. And this is such a wonderful sense of freedom. It's not easy, but it's what we're all aiming towards on the spiritual path. This is why people practice the technique of tithing, that when they receive income, when they receive a paycheck, they consider, this is not mine, this is a gift from God. Some people put that paycheck on their altar for a day or two, just to remind them that this belongs to God. It doesn't belong to me. I'm giving it back to Him. And in a practical way, few people are capable of giving back the whole paycheck, but before they even put anything in the bank, they remove 10%, let's say, if that's what's comfortable for them, and then they give it to their source of inspiration. They give it to a spiritual work. They give it back to God, because in their minds they consider it was never mine to begin with. Let me make a compromise. I'll take the 90% and do everything that I need to fulfill my obligations, but that 10% was never even mine to begin with. And so to have this attitude of non-attachment to those things that we are given. And now Swamiji says that most people think of generosity as merely giving things, giving material benefits to others. And this is a good first step. But more important is this spirit of generosity. Christ said, treat your neighbor as yourself. And then Yoganandaji took that a step further and said, because your neighbor is yourself. If you can see that he is just as important as you, in fact, it's an even greater spiritual lesson to see that person as more important than you, to sort of see him benefit at your expense if need be. And to feel that in this way, we get over this attachment to self. Yoganandaji said once he was taking a walk and he was in ecstasy, and Swamiji was helping him to walk, and he was just sort of shuffling along, and Yoganandaji said, you know, I'm in so many bodies at once. It's difficult sometimes for me to remember which body I should keep in motion. And so we want our consciousness to be so vast that someone else's needs are just as important as our own. And if we can anticipate their need even before it's expressed, we grow more and more in this way. There's a wonderful practice is at night before you go to bed. Swamiji would recommend this. To feel like, one example is feel like you have a hawan and you're offering into the hawan every attachment, every every connection that you have to family members, to possessions, to accomplishments. And one by one, throw that attachment into the fire and let God dissolve it. Not so much dissolve the thing, but dissolve any lingering attachment that you may have that you may not even be conscious of. Offer up everything you are, everything you have. It's all come from God. Consciously at night before you sleep, give it back to God. Give back every attachment. Let's do the affirmation together that Swamiji has given us for generosity. Let's please repeat after me in a loud voice. I am happy in the good fortune of all, even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. I am happy in the good fortune of all, even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. Now in a whisper, I am happy in the good fortune of all, even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. Now mentally only repeat this. Think of the meaning of the words. I am happy in the good fortune of all, even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. Now what a statement that Swamiji has said here. I'm happy for the good in the good fortune of all, even more than I'm happy for my own good fortune. Because in my happiness for someone else, if I treat it as even more important than my own good fortune, then I become free. I become free of the attachment to my good fortune, free of the attachment to my happiness, because I'm thinking of someone else even before myself. And let's pray silently. All that I have and am is thine. All that I have and am is thine. Divine Mother, dispose of it as thou wilt. Divine Mother, dispose of it as thou wilt. Everything I am belongs to God, belongs to Divine Mother, and everything I have belongs to Divine Mother. So let her decide what she should do with it. Thank you so much for joining me.